Welcome to the Dowsers teleconference of 19 July 2021. These ongoing talks are scheduled for the third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and last for about an hour. Your moderators tonight will be Jeanette from Northern California Dowsers and Susan from Greater Boston Dowsers. They'll be joined by a panel featuring Margaret Van Land Martin, Roxanne Louise, Richard Anderson, Dr. Adi Tuals, Tina Bergen, and Alan Handelsman as part of the continuing series, How to Have a Successful Dowsing Experience. This will be recorded and edited by Susan Spooler and available at AFD's website under the Members Only section. Now turning the program over to Jeanette.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. First of all, I want to mention that if anyone has seen the New York Times article, it's featuring Sherry Hope, Rob Thompson, and Larry Bird. And I'll go ahead and put that into the ad, so make sure to check that out as well. And I want to thank everyone who is helping with in the dowsing community. To go ahead and mention at the last Saturday of the month, the NorCal Dowsers and Boston Dowsers and Gold Country Dowsers will be having a Dr. Gail Kimball speak. And if anybody is interested in learning how to increase their awareness and consciousness, please join in, and I will put the information. It's available at norcaldowsers.com for the information. Also, if you would prefer to put any other announcements in the chat box, or if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat box. Thank you so much. Susan, do you have any other announcements to make, or maybe we should just go ahead and turn this over to Margaret?
Hey everybody, thank you for joining this call. And the first thing we start out with is sharing the tarot card of the month. What's really amazing, of course, is we're still in June. No, make that July. You can tell where I live. So the card for this month, July 1 through 31, is the One of Cups. We're talking about creation, birth, beginning, invention, start of an undertaking, fortune, and gain. So I want to remind you that it's wonderful energy to start a new project or take on a new endeavor. You could have a flash of intuition. You could birth a new creation or invention. You could bring something new into our world, an undertaking where you can create a project or focus on energy to create a better world for us all to live in. On a rudimentary level, this month can bring fortune and gain financially if we put our attention on that part of our lives. I hope we as Dowsers focus on a better world and the energy to create it. So right in the middle of July, still plenty of time to do that as Dowsers. Next is what we get to look forward to in August. Our card for August 1 through the 31st is Strength. Strength is about courage, conviction, energy, determination, and then about awareness of temptations and the mental and physical abilities to overcome them, which is mind over matter and matter over mind. So it's really exciting to have Leo energy for August because it's the sign for August astrologically. And here it is as our monthly tarot card, Strength, which is Leo and the Lion. So do you want to have access to the full energy of strength in August? Remember, it's temptations that keep us off our actual path of what we want to accomplish in this lifetime. When you overcome the temptations by using mind over matter and matter over mind, Then the new project we wanted to start in July, or a new project that we want to start right now, will have the determination, courage, and conviction mixed with the energy to move forward on our life path, accomplishing what we want to in this amazing lifetime. So this is our second month in a row where we have energy and the want to do something to make the world a better place, to make what we do in the world a better thing. So these July and August are amazing months, and I am happy to share happy cards.
Thank you, Margaret.
It's
Okay.
always fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you presenting to us. There's 6 of you speaking today. And Margaret, would you like to tell us what are your techniques and how do you have a successful dowsing experience? And then since there's 6 of us, go ahead and take 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can have the next panel person speak.
Thank you. So I love dowsing. I am a psychic medium, but I use dowsing and all sorts of other tools, including tarot cards. You can tell I also love tarot cards to work with my clients. So some of the ways that I use dowsing is for aura checks before and after healings. I also use dowsing to do chakra checks during healings and to see if the chakra is moving or the size of it, all of those different things. I also use dowsing to do muscle testing. And so muscle testing where I don't have to have them put their arm out and push their arm down. I use a pendulum. And for people that have physical limitations, where having their arm out for a long length of time, or if I am working with animals, I have found that using the pendulum and muscle testing is an amazing tool to help get answers or to clarify food or supplements that people are using to see whether or not it's a good match for them. And then another way that I use dowsing is to help people release habits. So that's the workshop that I am going to be doing in Flagstaff. And it is a wonderful way to let your body, through a guided meditation, choose a habit that is no longer serving your body. So we can think, oh my gosh, I absolutely have to stop, fill in the blank, drinking coffee, smoking, eating sugar, whatever it is. What if that's not the right habit to stop first? With a guided meditation, you can actually let your body tell you what layers it wants to take out. And then there's a dowsing protocol that helps your body easily release the stuck energy, because habits are just stuck energy. And it allows you to release that stuck energy and to have it reactivate if that's necessary. So I have a client I was working with on stopping smoking, and she had started again, and she made a phone call to me so that we could redouse, and we'd set the appointment, and she texted me the next day and said, all I needed to do was hear your voice, and it activated the dowsing, what had happened inside her body through dowsing. So it's exciting how easy it is to release habits, and you can start them up again and release them again. So it's not like we're stuck not being able to feel better or to be able to live our lives fully the way we want to. So I love dowsing. I love being a psychic. I love mediumship, which is talking with people and pets who have passed before us. And dowsing is a tool that is something that I regularly have access to and have just found it to make working with my clients so much easier. So thank you. I'm glad to be on this panel tonight, and I will answer questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And Margaret really does a fantastic job releasing bad habits. And thanks for sharing your successful strategies. Alan Handelsman, would you be interested in speaking next?
Sure.
Thank you.
I was so impressed that somebody was able to quit smoking just by hearing Margaret's voice. I have a lot of family members tell me that as soon as they hear my voice, they lose their appetite. So I have a lot of thin relatives. Let's see. So to me, dowsing, I have sort of a broader, maybe a broader, or at least obviously an individual definition of what dowsing is. It's two parts. It's getting information from places where people usually don't look for information, and using that information to make whatever changes they want. So to me, a successful dowsing session is um, getting the results, uh, changing a person's life, or changing your own life the way you want your life to be different, or at least taking steps in that direction. Um, so for me, the focus is conflict. This has to do with the workshop that I'm teaching in October in Flagstaff. Um, Behind me is the Grand Canyon, by the way, which is not far from Flagstaff. And ever since I've returned from my first visit to the Grand Canyon, I felt this big emptiness in my life. So ending conflict. Um, the title of my workshop is Dowsing for Romance, Finance, and Resonance. And those are sort of code words. Romance is relationships with other people, not just romantic relationships, but all relationships. And I don't think I've met anybody on this earth who every relationship has been a source of unmitigated joy. So, and I found that a lot of problems that people have, a lot of habits that people have, a lot of places where they struggle uh, boils down to inner conflict. We fight ourselves in so many ways. And anytime you hear yourself saying, I should be different, then you're fighting yourself. So the romance part deals with lessening the conflict, whether it's with other people or the conflict that we live with within ourselves. Finance is things in our life, not just money, but anything that we don't classify as a living being. We can have conflict with that. We want to get along better in the world with living beings and things that are not living. Resonance has to deal with all the other stuff, the energies that can be that we can be in conflict with, non-beneficial energies, competing energies, and resonance has to do with the other two and with ourselves. So when we're in a state of resonance with whatever else it is that we're dealing with, then a state of resonance means that we're relating harmoniously, that we're not fighting, and resonance is a state not only of harmony but of extraordinary power. So the whole process is taking your power back. And when I work with people, usually the dowsing happens because we're looking at a place where we don't usually look for answers. And that's the place where we assume where the problem is, which is within ourselves. So we know that we have a problem within. So we look outside for answers. What I do, which takes some courage on my part and anybody else's part, is to look inside, not for the problems. We know the problems, but my feeling is that the same place where the problems live, that's where the solutions are. So we can um, make it quick, efficient. We can make it fun, and that's what I try to do with my definition of dowsing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Alan really does a fantastic job. He speaks at various conferences throughout the US, and who knows, maybe he'll go abroad too. And he's always a host of fun, so don't be surprised if you ever see him at an MC at some special event. Thank you so much, Alan. And if you want to,
I have been abroad. I've been in Norway and Switzerland and France and England and New Jersey.
Oh, which exit?
if you would like to put your information, how people can contact you, that would be great as well, please. And Dr. Adi Two Owls, would you like to speak next?
Okay. So, yeah, if someone had asked me in 2005 if I thought this kooky little thing on the end of a string would take me all over the world doing all kinds of interesting things, I would have probably said you're out of your mind. But I have to say, dowsing is this amazing tool to kind of explore and sort of expand one's curiosity into the world around them. You know, I do traditional dowsing. You know, I find wells and help people find lost objects and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the whole sort of esoteric dowsing, you know, the sort of spiritual path stuff, and that to me expands into my shamanic work, where I work a lot with the how we relate to the world around us, and how do we have harmonious relationships to the world around us. How does our life and the choices we make affect people, places, and things? And dowsing can really help us with that. You know, and right now we're, you know, on a planet that has got a lot of conflict and strife and challenges. But I also think challenges, in my ideological view of the world, are part of what makes us grow. It's what helps us to understand ourselves better, pushes us beyond just our tiny thinking into problem solving and cooperation and collaboration. And dowsing can be a tool for all of those things. You know, everything from how we self-care, you know, how we make decisions about our own personal life and our personal health, but also in how we expand that out into how we live and how we walk on the earth, how we, you know, the materials or the choices we make for what we drive or what we eat or how we live, etc. So all those things can be worked with through dowsing. You know, I personally use a pendulum. It's one of my favorite tools of choice. I'm fascinated by them as just their shapes and their many different functions and uses. I also like using dowsing rods. But I think, like, if I were to break it down to some simple things, ask your questions, but don't have expectations. I think that's a really important cue or sort of suggestion. Be still and allow the divinity, because that's what dowsing, the word dowsing comes from, is the divine. So allow the divinity to make itself known and make its presence known, and the information it wants to give you known. Make sure you understand the nature of the situation, not just the question, but the nature of the situation. Questions don't come out of nowhere; they come out of situations. They come out of relationships between things, people, places, and things. And I guess also, you know, don't look at dowsing as being sort of like, you know, the end of the, like, you know, you get an answer and that's the end. That's the doorway into other things. I think that's part of the curiosity piece with dowsing. You know, it's not just an answer. It's an opportunity. It's a potential. So So I'm going to be talking at the Southwest Dowsers, Flagstaff Dowsers Conference. My workshop is going to be 3 ways to dream the world into being, and that's going to be about using dowsing, but also some of my shamanic practices to bring us into an understanding about how we can envision, but also take steps to build a world that we want to see, we want to be a part of, we want to participate in. So, and I think out of all of the tools in my toolkit, I go to dowsing an awful lot in my work as an artist, as a shaman, as a healer, as just a curious mischief maker. So, so with that, I thank you all for the opportunity to speak tonight. So thank you.
Adi, aren't you doing a second workshop too, or a second?
I am. Oh yes, I am. I'm doing opening the third eye, which is a technique for clearing out any of the baptism of the Catholic Church that might be closing down and shutting down the third eye. And I've taught this before, and it comes with a handout, and you just need to bring a pendulum. So that's the second workshop I'll be offering.
Thank you very much. Jeanette?
Thank you. Dr. Adi 2 Owls, you will often see her uplifting, and either she'll be playing music or she will be uplifting people's spirits in prayer in some format. So we really appreciate you and we love you, and thank you so much for sharing your techniques. And if without further ado, we will invite the next person, Tina Bergen. And Dr. Adi, if you can put your contact information in the chat box, that would be great too. Welcome, Tina. Tell us about how you how is dowsing, how does one have a successful dowsing experience?
I think one of the thank you. I want to say thank you in advance of anything else that there is this format, that there are these conferences, that there is this great community. Thank you so much for the time and effort to coordinate all of this. I really do appreciate it. How to have a successful dowsing experience. I think any experience you have dowsing is a success. It's a win. Even if you don't get an answer right away, that's an answer. And one of the things that I've noticed before I ever meet with a client in person to do a reading, I will douse to bring everything into harmony. I use a lot of Joachim Whippach's techniques there to harmonize so that I'm coming from the right place to connect to them at the level that they need. Anyway, with that aside, I think the success, one of the things I feel positive about is that oftentimes when people are hesitating, oh yeah, I'm not sure I want to, invest in your program or having a reading, I can give them a very fundamental dowsing lesson. And it just opens the door to people who normally wouldn't be exposed to it. And I feel like that little shining light that comes to them through knowing that, whoa, I didn't expect that. Whoa, this may work. There might be something here. That's just thrilling to me. I think that is a huge success. As I work with clients, I talk to them about why they're here and what they're meant to be and do in this life. And energy doesn't lie. Energy just is, and energy impresses itself on matter. We all know that, right? And your fingerprints are a soul imprint from 5 months before you're born. And so this is your soul map, what you are meant to be and do in this life. And that's what I get to talk to people about. And what I notice is I use dowsing to decipher is it this fingerprint or is it this kind of fingerprint, or is it a combination of those? I'm using it often as I am making their map. If there's any kind of question. It will let me know which direction to go to best serve them. I use it to make sure that I'm the right person for them. Sometimes it's not a fit, and that's okay. That's fine. They may be better served by not moving forward. They may be better served by another person, and all of this comes into play. One of the things I constantly do when I go to Dowsing conferences is, you know, I've got my program all planned out, and okay, I'm going to go to this speaker and this speaker, and then I'll get there, and I don't know if any of you had the same experience, but it changes. It's like, oh, I thought I was going there, but it's saying right now, which shows that energy is always shifting, and it's with us where we are, and that is a beautiful thing. So that is how I see a lot of success in dowsing. I see the impact of being able to talk to people about their soul's design. What is your biggest challenge? Your life, you know, it's a life sentence. Your challenges, your purpose, and your perspective, right? It's a life sentence. I remember thinking when I first learned to douse that, oh, my problems are over. I know how to douse now. I can clear energy. I can do, you know, and life's still life's because it's part of mortality. It's part of what we're learning and growing and being aware of while we're on this earth. So it does help give perspective, which is super helpful too. The course that I am going to be teaching in the Dowsing conference in October in Flagstaff is just an overview so that people who are spiritually aware are often thinking, well, why isn't my life smooth and easy? I know what I know. Why am I bumping up against this stuff all the time? Well, it's really good to have your soul psychology mapped out so that you understand, oh, yeah, this is the arena I'm supposed to be battling in. This is the challenge I'm supposed to be having to progress, to bring my life purpose forward. So I am going to be talking about an overview of that. People will come and they will be able to take fingerprints. They'll get an overview of soul psychology, and they will also be able to douse and identify each other's fingerprints. So they'll get dowsing practice as well as life purpose hand analysis practice in this course. They will leave knowing, kind of from the 1,000-foot perspective, what they're designed to be and do to find soul fulfillment in this mortal journey. So I invite anybody who has questions about this, they can feel free to contact me. I am very grateful for the opportunity to get to chat with you and look forward to meeting you in person soon.
Thank you so much, Tina. It was a pleasure to meet you, and we look forward to the questions and answers at the end. And if we can have Richard Feather Anderson, who is also a speaker at various conferences, and please go ahead and take over, Richard. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Well, the first thing that came to my mind with the question of how do you more successful with your dowsing, I sort of flipped and expanded that, and and the first thing that came to mind is, well, gosh, dowsing helps me be more successful in life with everything I do. And recently, the last many years, I've been developing lots of ways to help me be a better gardener, a better landscaper, working with trees and plants using dowsing. And the reason, the thing that popped into my mind is that dowsing, not so much how am I more successful with dowsing, but how does dowsing make me more successful with life, is because the way I think of dowsing, my favorite definition is dowsing is a way to expand my consciousness beyond what I consciously know. And when I'm working with trees and plants, the things that you know, the more I know things that I don't know or don't know to ask about, or, you know, things that I'm considering in the health and helping plants to thrive, you know, I can, by using dowsing to expand my awareness of what their needs are, is how I have so much success with plants. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on at the Southwest Conference. It's going to be one of the specialized or advanced dowsing classes before the conference on, was that Thursday, October 7th, all day. And there are a lot of, I'm going to share kind of a potpourri because I keep discovering new ways to use dowsing to help me help plants do better and thrive. And I'm going to be drawing from more than just dowsing, because I learned, some of the first things I learned were sort of like Adi, from shamanic practices. I've trained and initiated in a Irish fairy tradition, shamanism tradition. And they had a really neat, my teachers had a really neat way of connecting with tree spirits and communicating with plant devas and listening to tree spirits. And it was all through an energetic kind of technique. And after I learned about the Dowsers and started hanging out with you guys in the 80s, I started to call the technique that they had taught me of feeling energy of plants and animals and sending energies to plants with my hands. And I started calling it hand dowsing because, and this is one of the things we'll do in the day that I'll share with you, of going around and being able to feel the edges of a tree's energy field or aura, and being able to sort of map out. And you can do it with dowsing rods as too, and we'll go back and forth between both, so you have both techniques. But I really love the direct connection of being able to just put my hands out and feel this pressure coming back when I come up to the edge of the energy field of a plant or a tree or something. And that's where I start to make the connection and the relationship with that tree as a being, as a conscious, intelligent being. And then I can say, I see that you've got some dieback here. Is there anything that I can do to help you? What are your needs? And so I get often answers from that process that are out of the blue. I would have never thought of. And I also use dowsing. I've developed a dowsing wheel that I keep changing about every year, that I can use a pendulum and dowse for information also. So I can go at it the same way of, well, what do you need? Do you need more water or more sunlight or more nutrients or more this or that or whatever? And so I really like having these two, having both the dowsing support me being more successful working with trees and plants, and also having the sort of the direct shamanic energetic approach as well. So I'm going to sort of take you through a whole thing, and this is things that I do every time I go to a nursery to buy a plant. I dowse whether the plant wants to come home with me or not. And when I get it home, I dowse, where do you want to be on the property? And then when I put it into the ground, I say, which way do you want to face? Where is your door, your opening, your window to the south that you're used to? So I put it into the ground so it's oriented the way it was at the nursery, and the way it's grown and gotten used to. And all of these techniques that I came up with came out of just asking questions. And the basic question, how can I help you thrive in living here with me on this property? And through those, one day, decades ago, a plant said, I want to be facing, and it's like, oh, I never thought of that before. Which is, just the way I think of dowsing. It's a way of expanding myself to consider things I wouldn't have thought of. We'll do a whole process that, starting with this hand dowsing, making our hands into dowsing tools, and feeling where the energy field, where the the energetic body of the tree is, and then finding out the doorway and where to go in and how to be with the tree. And I'm also going to share something I learned way back in the 80s at the West Coast Conference. It used to be called French coils. There's all these earth acupuncture techniques where you put different metal rods and stuff into the ground. And it's a way of giving what I would call a cosmic chi infusion to the plants. And I'm finding this year with the droughts out here in California, this is a lot of what the trees need. They need more water, but they also are asking for more energy. So I'm going to share that energy booster technique with you. And there's a way of doing it just with your hands, and there's a way of doing it with the earth acupuncture. And I'll share a simplification of the French coil technique that I learned, which takes a lot of time. And I have simplified by just taking a copper wire and making a little helix out of it, and dowsing how big it has to be and the whole configuration. And again, that is, dowsing helps me be more successful because I don't know how to make it the perfect kind of antenna for cosmic energy for that particular plant or tree for what it needs right now. But through dowsing, I can find that out. So I just love using these techniques that way, and love passing it on with other people. And we'll also talk about if you have to thin out trees. I had to take 30 trees off my property because this forest had never been managed before, and they were getting disease and stuff because they were too crowded and competing and stuff. And so there's a whole technique to ask them to send their energy to their sister cousin trees. So lots and lots of useful stuff. And that's what I'll be eager and ready and excited to share with you in Flagstaff coming in October. And what else? Oh, and transplanting shock. That's another thing. But anyway, there's just all sorts of little things that I have discovered over the decades that help you be more successful and helping your plants that live around you to live well and thrive. So that's basically it.
Thank you so much. And so first you can get your hand analyzed with Tina. And then once you get your hand analyzed and your soul, then you just go over to Richard's class, and then you're going to be feeling the energy with your hands with all the plants. It sounds great.
We'll have you covered. Cover all the bases.
Richard, if you want to put your contact information so people can get a hold of you, that would be great. And if you want to say at the end, we'll have everyone say how they can contact you at the end of the video, because maybe some people won't be able to read this completely.
Well, I can actually, mine's really simple. It's my name.com, richardfeatheranderson.com is my website, but I'll put it in the chat as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we do have the former ASD president, Roxanne Louise, and I want to, she is also going to give us tips on how to have a successful dowsing experience. We'd like to know what are the best tips, Roxanne? We want to be the best dowsers we can be.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Perfect.
Well, I think, I mean, I've spoken a lot before, but I think the first thing is that your heart has to be in the right place. And that means that you have the right to know, and you're really sincere about the questions you want. I consider dowsing communication with spirit and with communication with my subconscious minds, communication with my high self, and with the divine, this spirit. And if I'm going to call upon the consciousness of wise masters, I don't name them, I just see, then they're not going to talk to me unless I am sincere, I'm honest, I am interested in being in service. But I'm also very vitally interested in healing myself. And so that's the first thing, to get your heart in the right place and you're being sincere. I think you have to want to know the truth. And sometimes dowsing does not tell you what you want to hear, and you have to be willing to hear it. raising your vibration to start is also good. I always start with grounding. To exert any kind of healing intention, because dowsing is two parts. One is gathering information, then is doing something with that information. And for me, that is projecting healing intention, whether it's healing physically or healing mentally, emotionally, or in some other way, to create a balance, harmony, as Jacob would call it. So it's grounding and then centering. Centering to me is letting go of all the mind chatter that's on the outside and coming into a narrow focus or alignment of why I am there. What is it that I want to achieve? And then connecting to source. And as I said, connecting to source means having a desire to connect to the divine. Then there is this thing about being resonant with what it is that you want. So if you say you want one thing, but you are in, as Alan would say, in conflict, you're not going to get results you want. That's where I would be looking for, where's the block? One of the things I'm talking about is calling your spirit back and reclaiming your power. I've experienced soul loss before, and I think many of us do. It could be something tragic, a death, a divorce, a major loss where you just are so discouraged that you're a puddle on the floor and there's nothing you can really experience. So getting your spirit back is necessary before you can then have the mental and emotional energy to project change. And I always will focus on projecting an image of what I want to happen. Now, what I want to happen has to be in alignment with the highest good. The highest good for me, but the highest good for if I have a client, it's the highest good for that person beyond what's good for me. In other words, if I am being of service and helping them to be at their highest place, that is more important than my personal agenda. So for example, I have a son. My son decided to move across the country before he moved across the ocean. So rather than having a selfish wanting to keep him near me, what I wanted was his happiness, his growth. And that's when we're dowsing for another person, we have to be focused on what is in their highest interest. And to me, that's getting out of business as quickly as possible with that individual because they have grown, because they have healed. Now, this takes also a humility. So when the good healers heal from their very essence of who they are, like the woman who was healed just touching the garment of Jesus, for example, just being in proximity with someone that is healing, to be the healing presence is an objective of mine. We know that we can feel better or our problems can be solved in the vicinity with certain people. Well, that's what I think is a noble thing to aspire to be that healing presence. To do that, that kind of brings up of what I'm speaking of. I'm doing Calling Your Spirit Back, as I said, is a shorter presentation, but I'm also doing a workshop on healing through time stopping negative repeating patterns. So if there's a problem, when I notice that something is happening 3 different times, then I know that something's going on. It wasn't a fluke. So I go looking for where it started. And I'll give you an example. I had a live-in employee to help me on my farm taking care of animals. And that person withheld important information. He lied when I asked him, do you have any health issues that would prevent you from doing the work? And it turned out he did. He had a heart condition, but he said, oh no, I can do it. And I'm perfectly healthy. Wasn't true. Well, the net result was he couldn't do the work and I had to ask him to leave. And then the next person came in, and because I was so focused on the other person, I attracted someone else who also was unable to do the work. So that's when I'm seeing something happen. And it can happen by focusing on a problem, but maybe you don't know where it came from. With dowsing, you can ask, where did this come from? Is this originate with me or from someone else? Did I pick it up from someone in my family line? And is it from this lifetime or another? How many instances do I need to research? And so I have dowsing can have you go to the root cause and indicate when you're there. And you can ask to find the positive learning, which I feel is critical, because if you don't find the positive learning, you'll just get it again. Similar problem. And then I share that wisdom, that positive learning throughout all of time. I may imagine using that behavior. I'll give you an example. I had an experience with someone, I was engaged to a person that I never should have gotten that far. And when I went to do the work on healing that relationship, the anger I had with myself for not stopping it long before, I imagined the first time a problem came up with him, and I imagined doing it differently. In other words, not letting it go, but making a stand right there. And it gave me a sense, it gave me back my power to say no to a man, which at my age and at that point in time was not so usual. And so by imagining having done it differently, an event I remembered, and then repeating that over and over again, I changed my whole sense of self. And that sense of self then creates new behavior, because your behavior comes out of your emotions. And your emotions come out of your thoughts and judgments of how you interpret things. So you can shift your patterns no matter how long ago, no matter how many lifetimes ago, no matter how many lifetimes. And dowsing will let you know that you're there. You can calibrate how long you need to stay focused there. You can calibrate your effectiveness. You can go then and ask to share that wisdom or learning through the future, all future timelines. You can go to the future when things are very different and bring that knowledge back to now. You can play with this whole thing of time. Now, I'm a hypnotherapist. I've been trained in neurolinguistic programming. Timeline therapy was something I studied with Tad James. I've studied with the finest hypnotherapists as well as dowsers in the country. I started in 1989. But before that, I was practicing doing communicating with spirit, communicating with nature, and counseling from a very, very, very early age of 4. So healing through time, stopping negative repeating patterns. So dowsing is a phenomenal way of becoming self-aware and of healing the self. So that's it for now.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Roxanne is such an excellent researcher. So if you haven't taken her class, please make sure to take her class. And if you are interested, also some past views of some of Roxanne's work, you can see her at her website. She's got classes. You can get one-on-one training as well. And we have recordings of, also at the American Society of Dowsers. I like, how can people reach out to you, Roxanne? And if you want to write that in the chat line, that'd be great as well.
I'm not seeing the chat, but my website is my name, roxannelouise.com.
Great. And
My
if
blog
you,
is on unlimitedpotentialhealingcenter.com.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Unlimitedpotentialhealingcenter.com.
I just put roxannelouise.com in there, Jeanette.
Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and open this up for, if you have any questions, please go ahead and write your questions in the chat line. And if the panel of speakers would like to go ahead and open up their video, please do so. And the questions can come one at a time if you wish.
Hello, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is this. We have a lot of dowsers out there. I just flipped through looking at the New York Times about Sherry Hope and Lee Barn. Wonderful article. And Mr. Bull has an article out in Connecticut Magazine. Wonderful article. Now, here's my question. We have all the dowsers. Who's doing the drilling? I understand that we have a shortage of drillers out there. Does anybody on this line have a drilling company?
There are drilling companies that will not drill if you as a customer tell them that you use a dowser.
Okay, what about the shortage of drillers? Because I was looking at some articles prior to this meeting, and they said that we have a massive shortage of drillers. Nobody wants to be in the water drilling business anymore.
Well, I had a customer last Tuesday. This is Susan Spooler. I'll turn my camera on. And he had a drill. She had a well drilled 1,500 feet, $25,000, and it was dry. And it was dry. And then he called me, and they had a brand new rig, a drilling rig, and it was a $980,000 rig.
Ooh.
So maybe that's part of why people don't want to. Why don't you get into the drilling business?
I thought about this years ago, back in the 70s and the 80s. I moved. If I would have stayed in the state I was in, I would have had a drilling company. We had a severe drought, a bad drought in the Midwest during that time.
Where
One
did you
guy
live?
could dowser, and the other one's gonna, because he could get the drill bits, the other guy could get the equipment, and we were gonna do it, and then I moved. So it was just a thought. I was just wondering about how to get more drillers. Or, all right, one other question: $980,000 equipment. If you was to go out and buy used equipment and start maybe a drilling franchise or something, is that possible? That maybe we get a bunch of us together, we could do a franchise or something, and it comes with a dowser.
This is Jeanette. Since we don't have a dowsing company, a drilling company, and we're working on dowsing, you may have to reach out to your local drilling company. I know over here in Northern California, there's some drilling companies who prefer to get a dowser because That way, if there's a mistake, you could blame it on the dowser, right? And there
That's
are
true.
some, I have to say that there are some drillers that actually do douse themselves as well. And
Well,
so
I
we
spoke,
try to keep friendly.
all right, I spoke to a driller, Mr. Eaton, this past week. He's up in the Adirondack, Rome, New York. That's where the phone call came from. He thinks this is his last year because he said something about that, the technology. When he started at 20 years old, and he's a dowser. He didn't even know we had a society for this. Hopefully, I'll be getting him to be a member, and next month he'll be on your program listening. I hope. Because he invited me to a water meeting here in New York in September and October. Oh, well, anyhow, that was the question. Listen, everybody was great on the show tonight. I really appreciate you having these meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jane said, not a question, just a comment. I so much enjoyed Richard Feather Anderson's presentation at that conference Susan provided the online tech for. It was absolutely fascinating. I encourage anyone going to Flagstaff to spend the day with him. All right. All right. And you do have a bunch of people that have signed up for you, Feather, let me tell you. Well, that's right, I already did. That's right, Roxanne is one of them. So, wonderful.
If
Thank you.
I
We
have a
always
question
have fun.
What did you
If
say,
we
Feather?
don't bother, right?
You what, sorry?
I said, if it ain't, we always have fun in my classes, and if you can't have fun, why bother?
That's right.
If there could be one item you can tell, this is for all of the panel, what is one way to give confidence for any newbie dowsers? That would be for all of you, or anyone who wants to speak out.
Oh, I think we'll probably all answer the same way. Practice, practice, practice.
What I teach my beginners is I tell them to take a deck of cards and then take a black card and a red card, the numbered cards. Put your hand over it, put your tool over it, and see what you get for a reaction. Then take a face card and see what you get for a reaction with those, with a tool or your hand. And then I tell them to shuffle the deck and then put your card face down and then douse it. And then if you douse, well, maybe that's a black card, I'll put it over this pile, make a black pile, a red pile. And then after you're doing about 10 of those, turn them over and see how accurate you are as one practice method. I always tell them that dowsing is not a parlor game. However, there are ways to get some empirical data to show that you've had some intuitive work done.
I would
Excellent.
say for beginners, one thing you might try is to spend the first 2 weeks dowsing wrong, doing it poorly, and after 2 weeks you realize you're still alive, you're still a divine being, and if it doesn't matter that you do it poorly, it makes it easier to do it very, very well.
I think it's really important, as Susan was saying, you have to have a way of knowing if you're accurate or not. So, like Greg Stewart would say, play games where you have to count how many beans are in a jar, for example. But you need to douse on something that then verify. So if I'm a hypnotherapist like Alan, and somebody comes to stop smoking, do they stop smoking or not? I have to have a way to see how accurate or how, so that way I get to refine and learn what I'm doing that is causing me not to have good results.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's practice and it's also collecting data so you can see progress. Because if you don't see progress, you don't know whether you're growing or not. And also, when we first try anything, we're going to have, success and failure. We're going to have those epiphany moments, and we're going to have long dry periods where it doesn't seem like it's working. But that's how we, train ourselves or entrain ourselves to the dowsing technique, like how our pendulum moves in a certain direction, or how we feel when we walk over water, and all of those things. We don't figure those things out until we actually do the practice, until we actually are doing the dowsing. We can intellectualize dowsing, but that doesn't really
help us with the actual act of dowsing. So it's a practice and just sort of showing up to see what the results are.
Mhm. I think that the beginning class that I took years and years ago, I remember the teacher was dividing up the class into groups. Who was going to go with which person to kind of oversee that group. And I remember thinking, well, there's no dowsing instrument. I mean, there's no pendulum. I don't see a rod. I don't see anything. And he said that you are the instrument. And understanding that, and understanding, like Adi said, what it feels like when you are in harmony, when you are doing it right, that's what you start recognizing, and that's what you start creating over and over again. And I think, I mean, for me, little pieces of paper folded up with different options worked really well. It helped me cut out the confusion. I didn't, you know, I did a lot of really clunky. I totally let people know that you have the right to be clunky as you start and learn to grow. But when they need it, it'll be there. It'll be there. And that's a really inspiring thing for new students.
Also, ask your question one time, and when it's not the answer you want, don't redouse. Try to get the answer you want.
Isn't that the truth?
Quagmire.
I think we've all been there, done that. I hope.
Would you say that again, please?
When you ask your question when you're going to douse, think about your question, spend time with your question, really figure out exactly what you need to know, then ask your question one time, do the dowsing, and the answer is the answer. It's not that, it's really not what I wanted to hear, and I'm going to redouse on it. It doesn't work like that. I mean, you can do that, but you're not going to become a confident dowser because you haven't allowed the actual dowsing to work. You changed the answer. So please don't do that to yourselves.
Okay, when I get done dowsing, I'm listening to what you just said about asking over, because the dowser gets mad if you ask the same question over and over. Eventually, it will give you the answer that you're looking for, but now what the dowser's looking for. And the other thing is you have to learn to ask the same questions different ways. Now, what I do is I ask the question, I get my answer, and then afterwards I ask the answer I just received. It's 150% accurate. If the pendulum says no, then I have to resort how I ask the question to get the right answer. I'm always concerned it has to be 150, 200% accurate. Everything depends on what I'm asking. If it says yes, it is, I'm done. If it says no, then I sit there and re-douse it out, and I get the same answer twice, then we know what it is. That's what it is, and resort or replan or whatever the situation is. But I always ask if it's 100% accurate after I get the answer.
I think making a statement is often a good way to clarify too, where you're not asking a question, you are making a statement, and that statement is a yes or no. And that's been helpful for me because questions can get really convoluted, and I can complicate boiling water at my worst. So I think a yes or no statement can be really helpful.
I also think a lot of times people have already answered the question before they do their dowsing, and that's a bit of a trap. So we really have to, starting off, we have to really not be attached to the results of what our pendulum is going to be saying. We have to like really be open to whatever comes in and not sort of like be directing or focusing on the answer we want to get. And that's the ego, the subjective mind, and we want the divine mind to work with. So, I think that's why we practice, so we can learn to quiet the subjective mind.
I believe you have to go in with no intent. You ask the question without any intent, be it nay or yay, and that's the answer, period. If you're right, what you said, if you go in with intent, you're going to get the answer that you want, but it won't be beneficial to you.
I find that one of the best techniques I ever discovered, or maybe I heard it from somebody else in my early dowsing days, to get what I want to hear out of the way or get my ego out of the way, is I ask the question, and before I sort of turn into dowsing mode, it's right at that point I've asked the question, I'm being very focused and sort of in analytical mind, and then I switch over to intuitive mind. And at that point, I say, oh, I wonder what the answer is. And I sort of exaggerate it like that and pretend like I'm a 4-year-old kid walking in the woods with my dad, exploring. And I have no idea what we're going to find. And that has worked for me, sort of gold-plated, foolproof. So I pass that one on. Just get really silly and childish and say, oh, I wonder what the answer is.
Yes, child's play. In the chat line, Jane writes, Young said the same thing in the I Ching. If you keep asking, trying to get the answer you want, it will get annoyed with you. Happy face. Miss Linda, do you have a question? Or anybody else have any questions for our panel of speakers? We're all set to have successful dowsing experiences. Okay. Well, if everyone would like to say who they are and how they can contact you one last time, and if everybody else wants to share their screen as well, so the speakers can see who was joining them tonight, that would be great. Thank you. I'll start. I'm Jeanette from NorCal Dowsers, and we try to meet once a month, and I'm happy to be here helping Sherry Hope. Sherry Hope is online, but she's unable to connect via voice phone too well. So we're here to help assist myself and Susan Spooler for our third Monday night talk. Susan?
I'm Susan Spooler, president of the Boston Dowsers, and I help organize the Flagstaff Dowser Conference and the West Coast Dowser Conference. We hope that you join us in Flagstaff, October 6th to the 12th. And we have over 50 fantastic speakers that will be joining us. We'll be having exclusive tours of Sedona and the vortexes, and you'll learn how to douse vortex energy in the beginning and the end of the conference. And we'll be having lots of surprises and workshops, advanced and beginner dowsing classes, and we look forward to seeing everybody. FlagstaffDowsers.com is our website.
I'm Alan Handelsman, author of the best-selling book, 127 Things to Do Every Day to Simplify Your Life. You can email me at alanhand, ALANHAND, at AOL.com. That's right, AOL. You may think of it as an outdated email address, but I think of it as retro chic, and I will answer any questions you may have.
I have a comment, Alan. I mean, you talked about all these places you traveled to, all these foreign countries, and then you said you've been at New Jersey. As born and bred in New Jersey, I take that.
I lived in New Jersey, so I say it with love, and I only say it because it gets a laugh. If nobody laughed, I wouldn't say it. But it's always with love. It's one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite places on earth. So I like all the exits.
That was cute.
Yeah, you have to be there to know what that joke means.
Yes, but when you reach when you reach somebody from New Jersey and you ask them where they're from, what exit, they love it, and they tell you. They always
They know.
tell you. So it works well.
So Frank Giesel, where are you from that you're asking if there are any dowsing meetings in New England? We have them in the Boston area, and I'm always taking my chapter folks on dowsing jobs with me. Are you still here, Frank? Earth to Frank, Earth to Frank. Well, he's not saying where he's from. New England's kind of a big place. We almost fill up. Duxbury, Massachusetts. Oh, you're down on the Cape. Okay. I'm in West Ford. Would you like to join me on some dowsing jobs? I just did one. Shoot, where did I just do one? I was down in middle. I was down near Plymouth, Massachusetts, just about a week and a half ago. Where was that woman's from? Oh my God. Anyways, it's always fun to take people that are interested. I'm in Arkansas, or I member, have satellite internet, so I'm losing my connection, so I'm going to sign off. But first, to Alan, I have been using your wording, resting and rejuvenating in the quiet dark of the storm. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, he's doing the thumbs up. Okay. My name is, but it says your name is Frank. Judith, it says your name is Frank on the screen, but never mind. Frank is my husband. Okay. Here, I'll reply and give you my phone number. How's that? 978-340-9304. I'm a very private person. There we go. Jeannie Geringer invited us. Okay, good. Okay. She's kind of doing a private thingy with me here, so. Anybody else have questions or comments or whatever?
So this is Teresa from Tucson Dowsers, and Adi is going to be our August speaker on the 7th. So hopefully you will all join us. It's at 1:30 Pacific time, which is the equivalent to Mountain Standard Time on that Saturday. So hope y'all be there.
Wait a minute, 1:30? I thought you were on West Coast time.
Well, 1:30 is the same. Mountain Standard and Pacific Daylight is the same time this time of year.
Oh.
Because Arizona doesn't change.
Right. Okay, use the word Mountain Standard, and I was, never mind. Okay.
Yeah, it's Pacific Daylight or Pacific Time, whatever they're doing now, and Mountain Standard are the same at this time of year. Yes.
Arizona doesn't need to save any daylight.
That's true.
Some buckets of rain I can send your way.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
We'll take it.
Really,
Yeah.
Yes.
We have been getting rain, and actually that's another thing I can mention, because we have on Tuesday evenings at 7 Pacific time or Mountain Standard Time, we are getting together using the same Zoom meeting link to douse for rain and to douse for scrambling the heat wave. So we're using some of Heather Wilkes's protocols that she developed for us.
Oh, nice.
And it takes about 15 minutes, and we do it at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. And then Heather Wilkes is also doing her, help with the pandemic protocol dowsing on 7 o'clock Pacific time, Mountain Standard Time on Thursday nights for us. It's 12 noon for them Friday, but for us it's like 7. So it would be 10 Eastern time.
And I think she's got a Facebook, like Heather Wilkes Facebook page. And it's also, the link is also in Tucson Dowsers newsletter. If you want to join to help alleviate some of the problems with the pandemic, that would be another time to help.
Excellent. Thank you, Teresa. If you want to put that in the chat line, that's great too. And our
That may
next
be beyond
Dowsers,
my technical capabilities, but I'll see what I can do.
or people can
Okay.
go to your website.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. It's
Dowsers,
TucsonDowsers.net.
TucsonDowsers.net. Thank you.
Yep.
And our next Dowsers teleconference will be the third Monday again, same time, August 16th. Any last words of wisdom from anyone?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
panel and
everybody,
speakers.
for coming. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
everybody.
your knowledge and your energy and okay.
Oh,
All right.
awesome to see everybody.
Laura Lynn.
Darling. Oh my word. Here we go, fella. Good to see
Thank you, Richard. Yes, we're feeling the energy.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Alan. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you, Audie. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Sherry. I see you from afar. I know you can hear us.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Like being the last people to first to name.
That's okay. Oh my word. Yabba dabba do.
Oh gosh. And then our Dowsers meeting, the Dr. Gail Kimball. I put that in the announcement page, but I've got to say it out loud. The How to Develop Your Clairvoyant and Healing Abilities by Dr. Gail Kimball. So Dr. Gail, you can kind of see the format. It's a little similar to Zoom, and then at least you'll see what everybody else gets to see on your end tonight.
Yeah, it's very useful. Thank you.
Excellent.
This is a very secure platform as opposed to Zoom. No one ever breaks into these meetings.
Well, I'd be happy if they did because it's good information.
You'd be happy if somebody broke into a meeting? Oh my God. No, not here.
That's good. And then so as a presenter, what happens is there will be quite a bit of boxes that will open up on your end.